What's up, everyone? This is Brandon with Hi-Fi. Thanks for being back on the channel. If it's your first time, welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about part 2 of my trip to Tokyo, Hi-Fi in Tokyo. Today's episode is going to be talking about just a general overview of the 2026 2BAM Sleepaway Camp hosted by Devon Turnbull of Ojas and MJ Audio. I was able to go a few weeks ago. It's been some time now since I came back. Went to San Francisco after. I've been sick. My family's been sick. It's been a rough transition back. I'm still a little congested, so I apologize, but the show must go on. So today I wanted to just talk about my experience, what we did in the camp, just go over some stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So if you saw the last episode, you kind of saw that meeting that Devon had with us for the first time. And then he told us that we had to pick up the transformers that day, like shortly after that meeting, that we'd pick up the tubes at a later day when Amtrans, the store, was open, where we were going to pick up the tubes with the vouchers that we were given that day. And that we were going to be given the chassis on the build day, which was, I think, 2 or 3 days after that first day that we met at the MJ Audio Fest. So yeah, we had our first meeting that day at the fest, and we were given each of us a bag of our parts. Everything, the hookup wire, the capacitors, resistors, the nuts, the bolts, washers, screws, all the hardware, everything except the chassis, which would be given to us on the build day, the tubes and the transformers that we're picking up. So it also had like very detailed instructions on how to build the amp, color-coded picture of a schematic that we would go over later in detail. And that's what we were given that day. And so we all left shortly after that meeting, just after he was going over some logistics. And we went to go pick up our transformers at the Tokyo radio department. If you've never been and you get the chance to go, it's really cool. It's kind of like the heart of a lot of this DIY audio culture in Akihabara. A lot of small little stores packed into this multi-level building with escalators. It's kind of funky, really cool. But they sell everything there: knobs, solder equipment, chassis, LED lights, resistors, capacitors, everything you would need to build your own amp. I don't know if they had tubes there. Maybe they had to have. But so we actually picked up our transformers from a company called General Trans Hanbai, and they're a company that's been around, I think, for decades. It's been a long time. They hand wind their own transformers. A lot of people support them and use their transformers in their own DIY kits in Tokyo, or I'm sure around Japan. But it was really cool that a local, like grassroots business was a part of this, that MJ Audio hooked that up, and we got to pick up our transformers. So here's a little clip of that. Oh, heavy. So you can see in the video, I grabbed the bag. I'm like, this is heavy. So it's kind of funny. Like my Deckware amp, it has a big transformer, so I know they're heavy, and like I'm learning about all these things like conceptually, but like to have them, to hold and have them in my hands, I was like, these little transformers are heavy. It was kind of funny. But we took that away. And then we all kind of parted ways from there, and we were to get our tubes on our own, um, and meet up on the build day, and a couple of days after that at the Karimoku Research Center, which is what we did. I got the tubes, I think, the next morning, after I had breakfast with my buddy Winston. That was super cool. So I picked up the tubes, had all my supplies, and we met up at the Karimoku Research Center a few days later. So the Karimoku Research Center is in a really cool area. I believe is in like the outskirts of Shibuya. A lot of like the area has like a lot of like designer boutique, like high end, like stores, clothing stores and shoe stores and bags and all that. And just a really beautiful area, really cool architecture, um, beautiful streets, and like just the landscaping is just gorgeous. So I got off my train, walked to where we were meeting, and right when I walked in, this is kind of what it looks like. Very industrial on the outside, like raw cement, a lot of metalwork and glass, and cool. Um, you walk inside the first level. I think there's 3 levels total. The first level, right when you walk in, there's like a little kiosk, and you make a right turn, and this big room, a good sized room, had that exhibit that Devon has, the tea room that you've probably seen if you're following his Instagram. It's like a small gray box that has 3 chairs in it. There's a record player right in the middle and 2 smaller speakers in the corners. And some of the campers, a lot of the campers were already there when I got there. And they're kind of lining up to go check out the exhibit. And I look, and like it's like a sliding like circular door, and I saw my friend's shoes at the foot of the door. So I was like, I'm just going in. So I walked in, went inside, and they're like, "Oh, come in, come in, come in." So we were all sitting, just vibing out. Here's a shot of me listening. We were having a good time in there, and it wasn't any vinyl playing when we got in, but it was like some digital playback, some Malice and Afro, I think, which was cool. But my buddy Danny was like, "I'm pretty sure there's a sub. There's got to be a sub in here." I was like, "You think?" I was like, "Or you think it's just like the room is small and the speakers are loading?" He's like, "Nah, it's a sub for sure." Um, so when we were done, got out of there, walked around to the back, and sure enough, there was a little enclosure, so a little subwoofer. But it was a really cool concept. I wish I could have heard vinyl in there, but it's cool. It was a fun experience. Um, yeah. So once we came out, Devon had arrived with his posse and talked to us for a little bit up there about the exhibit he had up there. And then we all made our way, I believe it was upstairs, to the bigger system that he had, that you've probably seen pictures of as well. Really cool design with the Japanese like room dividers, um, and then these gorgeous speakers with I think they're handmade wooden multicellular horns. Um, Super beautiful, like just sexy speakers, and they sounded great. And we didn't get to hear any vinyl up there either. We were limited on time, but there was also some digital playback going, and they still sounded really good. And he talked with us for a little bit about the speakers, about the setup, and he actually answered a question that I had wanted to ask him. Um, after learning a lot about Devon and what he's into, and kind of, he's bringing back this culture about tube amps, really, and high efficiency speakers that I mentioned before. But I was asked, I had this thought, and he kind of just brought it up naturally in conversation with everyone. He was talking about his thought process about meeting the needs of his, I guess, clients or customers, with different topologies or different types of sources. And he was talking about how just the reliability of transistor amps, Class D amps, versus like more Class A tube amps that he himself might listen to more in his own space. And he was just talking about how tube amps in general can be very finicky and troublesome, and less reliable for sure. And he was just saying that, if you're working with a client halfway across the world, you either have to have 2 tube amps, or you have to have someone on hand who can fix it or troubleshoot, or you just have something that's more reliable, something that's more steady. So that was really interesting to hear him talk about that perspective. Just what a question that I had for him, but that was cool. So we hung out upstairs for a little bit, answered some questions. Then we went down to the ground floor. There's like a little merch area. I bought his little his zine in Casa magazine, I think. He has a whole spread about the exhibit that we were at standing in. So that was cool. And then after that, I fanned out and bought this shirt with the back of it. It has like a drawing or a rendering of the tea room exhibit, which is cool. But after that, we all gathered our things and walked a few blocks to another Karamoku Center thing. It was more like a living space exhibit, or like a lot of like staged furniture, and there's like bathrooms and beds and couches, just a lot of staged like a live-in area. So that was pretty cool. It's just a beautiful designed area. We went into like one of the larger rooms, sat down, and Devon basically went over a bunch of stuff. We sat down for maybe half an hour to an hour, talked about tubes, like some general information about how tubes work, watched a couple of videos, and then in detail, he went through the schematic start to finish, the power section or the signal and the power section, just talking about step by step what the different components are doing, what's happening in the circuit. So that was really cool to hear him talk about that in person with us. So we did that, had some time for questions and answers, and then we got into it. We were all given our beautiful hammer tone gray powder coated chassis. And that was super cool, that moment to just open it up and be like, this is mine. But the purpose of that meeting was to go over the schematic, answer questions, and then to really just start bolting the stuff on. Like, we bolted on all the transformers, bolted on the RCA jacks, the IEC connector. What else? Yeah, just like all the exterior stuff, basically. And it took longer than I thought, honestly. But he had some tools for us. People with MJ Audio were around, kind of helping us and making sure that we were putting everything on and getting everything on right. And we had 2-3 hours, took a couple breaks, and we did that, and everyone kind of finished bolting on the major parts. Also, the covers, the black covers that I ended up taking off, but the black boxy covers that go over the transformers, those were really hard to put on. But we got everything bolted, took this awesome picture, and just spent some time, another like 20-30 minutes, just hanging out, talking about all kinds of stuff, asking for recommendations on kisas and audio places to go, food places, just all kinds of stuff. And he was super down to earth, really cool just to talk to and just to talk amongst ourselves, everyone. So that was a lot of fun. And that was pretty much it. That was the camp. I ended up getting dinner with those two guys, Dave and Danny, that night with some of their friends who were in town from Shanghai, and got some grub. And that was kind of the end of my camp experience. So I mean, I had a really fun time. It was really good. And my next episode in this series is going to be talking all about like not the troubleshooting, just how I put together the amp, the work that I did here in Hawaii at home, and problems that came up or anything, and how I put it all together, and my general thoughts on the sound of this amplifier compared to my Deckware amp. So yeah, I mean, general pros I'd say for the camp is just like, this camp was an amazing opportunity for me and where I'm at with my learning, where I'm at with my understanding of electronics and circuit design, and my overall skill set, like where I'm at with my skills. And it just met me at a perfect time. And I'm so grateful to have been able to go. It was really cool to meet Devon and to meet like-minded people who are into the stuff and who are, in a position where they could make this commitment to go to Japan and do this. Um, so there's kind of like a natural kinship between all of us, with this mutual interest and this nerd mentality. It was really cool. So that was definitely the pros. It was just a great time. Some of the cons, critiques I had of the camp, you know, nothing major. Just it was unfortunate. We were hoping to initially, we were hoping to have more time to spend together as a camp, like to go to Kisas together or to, get a meal together. And that was planned, but because of the size of our group, it just never materialized. We weren't able to, a lot of the places that they had reached out to weren't able to accommodate a party of our size. But so understandable, it's all good. And I'm thankful that I had the time with Dave and Danny that kind of made up for it. But the 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 sucky part about it was the places that Devin recommended. Two of them were Eagle Kisa, which I tried to go to like 2 years ago, last time I was in Japan, and Lion Kisa, the oldest Kisa in all of Japan, I believe, over 100 years old. Um, when I went there on my own, they were both like completely empty, and I was like, "Oh man, we could have like had the gang in here," but it's all good. That's just how it worked out. And the only other con critique was we were all kind of go with the flow the whole time, which was fine. But I think if we had known in advance, like this is going to happen this day, this is going to happen this day, would have just eased the planning of my personal trip. But I think everyone who was at the camp was pretty chill about it and was flexible. So it was all good. But little minor critiques, but we had a really good time. I had a great time. Um, I would do something like this again if I had the opportunity. But for now, I'm just thankful for the trip that I did have. So, yeah, stay tuned for episode number 3. Leave a comment, rate, subscribe. I really do appreciate the people who've reached out to me, who've said they're enjoying this little segment. Some of the homies, and if that's all I get, like that's like enough for me because I'm just doing it for whoever's listening. I appreciate you guys. Please follow, subscribe, share it to your friends if you care to. That's it. See you episode 3.